Hey everybody, good Sunday morning from Matt here in Perrysburg, coming to you from a very special place in my city this morning and kind of continuing the history lesson as I did last Sunday over at Hood Park, right above the Maumee River. And even though it's not open, we can get a good view of some of it and the historic plaques here, but this is Fort Meigs State Historic Site. That fort there is a reconstruction of the original, but to original specifications. This is a War of 1812 fort, and you'll see the fence line around the original fort perimeter there. And we're not going to walk all the way up to it today. It's obviously not open this early on a Sunday, but wanted to tell you the story of this a little bit. Let me do a quick panorama here. It's very quiet. Obviously, it is on a Sunday morning, but at any time, it's a very quiet little park environment here. Very nice visitor-oriented park. And what we're going to do, that's the visitor center over there. So that's how you enter the park. You go through the visitor center and then come out that way. There's an obelisk over there I'm going to tell you the story about in a minute, but we're going to walk over here. There's a couple of historic plaques that I'm going to show you and tell you a little bit about this. So let's walk over there. And when the obelisk comes into view, I'll tell you the story about that. Because a lot of people recognize Fort Meigs by not just the fort, but also by a 100-foot granite obelisk. It's just coming into view now. And I'll show you over there. That was erected in 1907. 100 feet tall granite monument commemorating the sacrifice of the soldiers here in the War of 1812 against the British. For a long time, that was the only marker here at the site because, again, that fort that I just showed you was not there. That was reconstructed in the 1970s. But that was here in 1907. So all that fencing, all of this had to be redone. But this is the original site. And just to orient you a little bit, we're kind of looking northwest. The Maumee River runs along the other side of the fort. Hood Park, where we were last Sunday, is that way, about 3/4 of a mile or so. That's looking across the river to the city of Maumee. Now, Fort Meigs in the War of 1812 was commanded by Major General William Henry Harrison, who would become president later on and actually serve the shortest term of any president in our history. He had about a 3.5-hour long inaugural speech in the rain. He got pneumonia and passed away. But the fort is named after an Ohio governor, Governor Meigs. His first name, oddly enough, was Return. Governor Return Meigs. Can you imagine that family? It's like, yeah, let's not name our kid Tom. Let's name him Return. Anyway, here we have our first marker, but Governor Meigs at the time was very supportive of the American cause and gave this land here to Major General Harrison to erect the fort. And in fact, there was a line of forts all the way from here out into Indiana fighting against the British. And they had an ally with the Native Americans led by Tecumseh. So I'm sure some of you may remember from your history. So that was Tecumseh's Confederacy and the British fighting against the Americans here in the War of 1812. So again here, Amos Spafford. In 1810, some of the first American settlers in this area were Major Amos Spafford, his wife Olive, again continuing with the fun names, and their children. In 1796, Spafford, a native of Connecticut, was a surveyor for the Connecticut Land Company. He drew the first map detailing the layout of Cleveland and named the city. He left that area in 1810, following his appointment as customs collector and postmaster for the new port at the foot of the Maumee River rapids, called Port Miami, of Lake Erie. Major Spafford was granted a 160-acre land patent on the river tracks, signed by President James Monroe, and was able to purchase it following the 1817 Treaty of the Rapids that extinguished Native American claim to the land. 2 years later, 67 families lived in the area, but most fled at the outbreak of the War of 1812. I think, do they always have different ones on the other side? Yeah, here we go. All right. This is not the same one from last Sunday. At least I don't think it is. Let me read through it quickly. Oh, it is. Yeah, it is the same one over at Hood Park. So we already saw that one, but I'll leave it there a second so you can do a screenshot of it. Just tracing the history of Perrysburg a little bit. Perrysburg used to be called the Orleans of the North, which some of you that live around here, we have a little shopping area called the French Quarter, and that's part of the reason for that name. Coming up here to the visitor center, which again is not open, but I'll give you a nice picture of it here. It's a beautiful visitor center, a lot of nice exhibits here, a lot of original exhibits. Haven't been in there in a long time. Here's the other monument here. The 17th Infantry, created by Congress in 1812 and formed with personnel from western states, was the only regular Army regiment in General James Winchester's column of the Army of the Northwest campaign to regain Detroit, which there was a Fort Detroit there at the time. During the War of 1812, the 17th fought at Frenchtown, which is now modern-day Monroe, Michigan, Fort Meigs, Fort Stevenson, and the Thames River. In 1815, the 17th was consolidated with the 5th, 19th, and 28th Infantry to form the 3rd Infantry. In May 1861, the 17th Infantry was again organized as a regular Army regiment and has since served continuously with distinction. And then we'll see the other side. The regiment served in Ohio at Columbus's barracks from 1894 until 1899, where after the Spanish-American War, the American Veterans of Foreign Service, the predecessor, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, or VFW as we know it, was founded. The 17th participated in the Civil War, the Indian Wars, Spanish-American War, Philippine Insurrection, Mexican Border Campaign, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and Panama. The regiment was decorated with the Presidential Unit Citation for the late operation, the Philippine Presidential Unit Citation, and the 4 Republic of Korea Presidential Unit Citations. 17 members of the 17th Infantry have been awarded the Medal of Honor. That is the Congressional Medal of Honor. All with its origins right here at Fort Meigs. Pretty impressive for any state. So I was just trying to keep quiet a minute and just listen to the sounds of silence, referencing the program in Australia when I was there. I know my friend Kristen's going to love the bird sounds out here. Just kind of do a perimeter turn here for you. But if you ever get a chance to be here in Perrysburg, this is a great historic site to visit. Again, it's Sunday morning. You can't get in. It's not open. The museum is open 364 days a year. And the fort is open during the non-snowy winter months. So like April to November. So, all right. I'll get some pictures. Post those up later. But from Fort Meigs here, Matt going to be signing off. I am going to go to Port Huron next weekend, hell or high water. I didn't get to do it this week because of the snow, or the smoke rather. It is cool this morning. Feels great, but still pretty smoky out. So, all right. Hope everybody has a good Sunday. We'll talk to you soon.